All right. Hello, my name is Jackson Autrey. I am an introduction to test analytics, and today this is my interview submission for one of our last assignments, the additional topics discussion. Today I am introducing Jennifer Sieber. Jennifer Sieber is my wife, but she is also a practicing data scientist. She got her Bachelor's of Science from the University of Oklahoma in microbiology in 2014. In December 2016, she graduated with her Master's of Data Science and Analytics from OU, and has gone on to work from places from the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory to LexisNexis in Oklahoma City. More recently, she just recently finished working at Coty Incorporated, a hotel meta search optimization company. Good. Okay, that's a mouthful, so I wanted to make sure I got that out right. But she will soon be starting a job at the Department of Defense in Maryland. So, Jennifer, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your field and your experience working in the field, particularly how you use text analytics in your daily work. So, but to start off with, could you tell us how did you choose this sector or field?
I guess I started working as a microbiologist, obviously, and then I thought, oh, I'm more interested in bioinformatics. And then whenever I started working in bioinformatics, I was like, am I more interested in bioinformatics or am I more interested in the data science aspect of that? And the answer was data science. So then I pursued that strongly.
Okay. And since you've gotten out actually into the working world, where would you say kind of your where have you focused been most of your work, or have you tried a bunch of different things up till now?
The majority of my time has spent working on machine learning, but then also focusing on text analytics.
Okay. All right. So, well, on that, how would you say that you use the methods, skills, or techniques of text analytics in your daily work?
It just kind of comes up as it goes. As a data scientist, they ask you to do a lot of things. So then one of my jobs was to classify news articles. Sometimes they ask me to look for certain search words that people are asking for. So it just kind of comes up
Okay.
as I go along.
Can you expand on maybe? Can you pick one of those projects and maybe kind of walk us through it a little bit? Tell us kind of how you what specific principles you may have used to solve a particular problem.
Right. So one of my jobs was to classify news articles. They had about 20 million records of news articles, and I was like, okay, where do I start? So then I made a bag of words. I looked for different machine learning algorithms. Support vector machines came up. Mm-hmm. So then my job was to make sure in Beat Humans they were employing lots of people to work on this to manually classify different news articles. Mm-hmm. So basically, I had to go in and find out how to do that in a machine learning way.
Okay. In general, your experience, so that was, I believe, in a corporate environment was where that what happened. Would you say in general there is any misconceptions in the corporate world about the kind of work that you do, about maybe being a data scientist or working with text analytics in general?
Yeah, so sometimes there's a lot of problems between me and the marketing department. They have a certain way that they do things, and they've been doing things for years, but it's not necessarily cost effective to do it their way. And so my job is to explain to them why my way is better and why it's more cost effective. And they kind of think, oh, everything that data science is a black box, and it's completely uninterpretable, and you should do it our way. And so it's kind of a fight between us, but eventually you have to influence other people. So I think that was a common misconception for me and for them to progress.
Well, I know you have some business experience from your minor. Did that help in those kind of situations? How would you encourage people who are maybe coming at it from a more purely scientific or technical background to approach those kind of scenarios?
So in a lot of classes, I had a lot of experience with working in presentations. Make sure you hone your presentation skills because it will come up.
Okay, awesome. Kind of getting into the more fun part. What would you say? What are the particular software or languages that you prefer to work in or that you use most often?
So I usually start out in R, but then I always end up in Python because Python is faster for me, and it's usually whenever you have a lot of other data other software that you're trying to merge your program into, it's easier to write a wrapper, I feel, in Python to make it merge with what the company already has.
So Python's easier to apply to a variety of situations you find?
Yeah.
Okay. I know personally I got my start doing kind of this sort of work in R, and it's hard for me. in this text analytics class, we're getting into a lot of Python stuff. I mean, it's all in Python and even scarier Linux shell commands.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
That's gonna happen. Okay, but okay, so it's good to get that exposure now. Then you would say.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So maybe kind of in that vein, is there anything that maybe languages or software tools that you didn't use or didn't use very much in your data science degree that you're now wishing that you had spent more time working on maybe in your free time?
Yeah, definitely. Hadoop and TensorFlow, I wish I had had more time and experience on whenever I was in school, but then I didn't really get to it. But it's coming up a lot more frequently that I have big data problems that I need to solve them with these tools.
Oh, right. Okay. And you would say Python is a good environment for kind of working with those, like in tandem with them. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So kind of I'm reminded thinking about that of other things. When I write code for school projects, I tend to write it in a way that's however I can manage to get it to work.
Right.
It's ugly. It's not as nice, probably looking. I'm given to understand though that's not the way you're expected to do it in the corporate world so much.
No, not quite.
Okay.
There are two sides. There are people like the marketing department you need to explain to, but then there's also you need to be able to fit in with the developers.
Mm-hmm.
If your code is only interpretable to you, it's not useful.
Right.
And if you finish a project, someone else, if they want to expand on that project, they need to be able to read it. So go over object-oriented programming, go over things like that, and make sure that your code is legible.
Okay. I was also interested. So you talk about like being able to get your project to work with developers, right? So these are the people building websites for the companies and kind of their internal applications and the things they use. So you have to be able to work with them as well, as meeting these company goals. What would you say to people who are likely going to have to work in that environment? How do you get used to working with people like developers who maybe come at these kinds of problems from a sort of different angle?
Again, I guess your presentation skills, but differently. Like, be willing to work on a whiteboard. It's kind of like the whiteboard interview, but every day of your life. They're not necessarily going to like you right off the bat, but then once you you have to prove yourself a lot as a data scientist. A lot of times, I come to the job and I'm the only data scientist there. I'm the first one to start something, and there's no backup. You're kind of like, someone's paying you this salary to do something. You need to be able to prove yourself. And so just get ready for that kind of strain every day of your life.
All right. Yeah. So kind of in that vein, I actually wanted to know, because obviously I know this anecdote, but could you share an anecdote where, where you had a new approach to a problem using data science techniques or text analytic techniques, whereas what they were doing was maybe something a bit more conventional or old-fashioned or kind of by the seat of their pants, maybe?
I'm not 100% what you're thinking of, but I'm going to say the one that I like the most is I was working at a company. I came up with an algorithm. I thought, okay, how can I best display this? I thought, okay, decision tree, everyone understands that. And so I go through the decision tree. There's different weights to different variables. And the end presentation, I say, these three will get you where you want to go, these three variables. And the guy behind me says, okay, so this one will work, right? That's the most important. It's weighted the highest, so therefore that one is the one that I'm going to need to use. I'm like, no. You need to use all three of them, and it could come up in these frequencies. And they're like, but the one, right? That's what we've been using. And I'm like, no, the three of them together work, and then it'll give you a better performance metric. And they're like, oh, I don't know. But then eventually we worked it out.
Right.
They ended up using the model.
Right. Well, as long as you got them there, right?
Yeah. Okay. Just be prepared.
Okay. Okay. So to someone maybe who's likely about to enter this field, and I say this field, obviously this is a very broad field.
Yeah,
People who are about to become data scientists for companies, governments, whatever. What should someone entering the field know about working as a data scientist?
I think you need to have a pretty big bag of tools. Like people always talk about it as like a toolbox. Like whenever someone is like, you're in a meeting, they ask you for a project, they're going to ask you right then, what do you think? And you need to have an answer. So if you kind of have a general toolbox, you can know what kind of problems align with what kind of algorithms. So then you can know kind of where to start.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I mean, we certainly get that, I guess, in the program a little bit. I'm dipping my toes in too. Okay, and so my last question is kind of looking a little bit towards the future. So, where would you say where do you see the field moving towards in the next 5, 10 years or so?
I think personally, I feel two things are approaching. One is that there aren't going to be data scientists. There are going to be like specialty fields like text analytics engineer or AI engineer.
Oh, so you see increasing specialization of that field, like kind of people finding niches more.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to just hire like a data scientist to do everything.
Right.
You know, it's you really need to know what you're doing in really specialty areas. Also, probably more contract work, as more like companies have one big problem they need, and then you move on.
Okay. Has it been your experience that that is kind of a thing companies are facing where they know they need a data scientist to come in and do some kind of work and but not they don't really have a vision for that need in the future?
Right. It seems like there's two big projects they need or something like that they've been really wanting to solve for a long time, and then they're like, okay, what do I do with you now?
Right. Well, you've done both contract work and salaried position work. So where would you say what would you say you liked about either? Which one would you say you prefer maybe?
I think I honestly like contract work. Sure, there's the stability in the salaried positions, but with contract work, it's like, oh boy, I get to work on this big new project, and then I can move on.
Right.
I don't have to feel like confined to working for this company necessarily.
I was kind of interested. I was thinking, in your opinion, with contract work, is there kind of do they give you more weight to? Because it seems like if they're hiring you as a contractor, right, that means they have a project in mind that they want you to solve. It seems like there's less opportunity for them to kind of second guess or doubt, compared to if you come in as a salaried position, questioning, what they're working on already.
Yeah, that's a good point. They hired you for a goal.
Mm-hmm.
If you complete that goal, then they're quite happy.
Awesome. Well, that's all I had time for. Thanks for talking with me, and I'm sure the rest of my class is going to appreciate you sharing your perspective.
Thanks.
So, all right. Well, thanks, everybody.